Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Welcome back to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. Today's guest, Matthew, has found a way to turn a bedtime creativity into a successful board game brand. He's the founder of MaCa Games and the creator of licensed Krill, a quick-playing, well-themed card game that launched on Kickstarter with over 500 different backers. And he's now also working on his next title while juggling life as a father of four and also still working a tech job in the daytime. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So will you mind sharing with our audience on how do you got into doing board game design and how do you got into the industry to begin with?
Sure. So starting from a very young age, the oldest, I learned a lot of games with my parents growing up. Then more siblings came along and more games were taught. And so we always had a love of board games growing up. I mean, for example, my parents taught me Bridge of all games when I was very young.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. But anyway, right before COVID, I was playing some games and my brother had an idea to make a board game. And I don't know why it took till that late in life to be like, on the one hand, I'm an engineer. On the other hand, I love board games. Why don't I do both at the same time? So about 6 months before COVID, I decided to really work on an idea that I had and bring it to market. And just as I ordered my first prototype to arrive in the mail so I could see a first iteration of this game, COVID happened, everything locked down, and it took 6 months to get that first prototype.
I see. Got it. And can you talk about that first prototype and the game that you created, what you came up with?
So that very first one was a kind of a sandbox game called Electoral Barrage. It's something I still may publish one of these days. But fast forward to the second game I started working on, the one that would be my first game, which would be what you mentioned, Licensed to Krill.
Yes.
That one, I was, during COVID, doing a board game, kind of a teach and learn, where the teacher said, I'm going to spin a roulette wheel and we're going to force ourselves to spend 5 minutes making a board game based on these parameters. Of course, with limited options comes creativity, right? So it was a great exercise. And the fruit of that exercise was I wrote down in my journal, Licensed to Krill, which is a pun and I thought was kind of cute, but I'm like, could you really make a board game out of that? Well, fast forward a month later and I'm like, maybe you could make a board game off of that. So that one happened to be from the pun out of its inceptions. I don't necessarily recommend that as a way to make a game, but I started with the pun and I said to myself, what would be something like this? Would it involve whales? And what's a whale eat krill? And what's a krill? And it's kind of like a shrimp. And long story short, and to about playtest number 50, we were talking at the end with some of the playtesters and it's like, well, what if when you discarded the card, they literally went into the whale? So then that's where this idea was born. So this is the actual box and the cards all come in the mouth like this. So all 99 cards somehow fit in the mouth. And I thought it was very fitting because, of course, this is a baleen, which is a filter for water to keep the food or the contents inside. And it's also the discard pile, which is ever so satisfying when someone needs to feed a card to the whale and you just have to slip it back in. One thing led to another, and I didn't set out to make a toy, but I set out to make a board game. And then the toy factor came in later. But I really, as a goal, wanted to interweave the box, which is the whale, into the game and not be an aftermarket idea like Bananagrams is fun, but the banana is just a box. It's not really necessary for the game. Whereas this game, it'd be really hard to play without the box because it's a hot potato, it's a bag, it's a box, and it's very interweaved into.
Can you explain the rule of the game really quickly as well?
Yeah, sure. So in the game, you're going to grab a card, and so you do 3 things on your turn. The card you grab might depend on its value or the danger of the whale. The second thing you consider on your turn is by grabbing the card, there's an action beneath that card which forces the whale here, Spouticus, to move around targeting the players like a hot potato. So I can plan that he targets you. I can plan that he targets me, knowing that there's a chance like a hot potato that he might nibble that turn. And then the
Mm.
final last thing I do is see what he's up to. So there's a deck of cards that we've built from the beginning. You flip the top and you see he was sleeping that turn, called logging in whale terms. But it could have been something like eating a card called krilling time. And that's when the target player loses a card to the belly of the whale. But
Mm.
as compensation or a pivot in strategy, when you lose a card, you also gain a card, and that would be another set to collect called kelp. So it's a quick
Okay.
game of 1, 2, 3. You pick a card, but that has some ramifications. You see what he's up to. Next person's turn, and around you go.
I see. Okay, okay, very interesting. And I think I have talked to a lot of different board game company. I think you're one of the first that actually used the plushie as like incorporate the plushie as part of the game mechanism, which
Mhm.
is very unique. Do you know any other company that have tried to attempt a similar design?
The
Other
ones I've
than
seen on the market is
yeah.
Happy Salmon is an example of one. Again, that's just a box and it's just the name of the game. It's not really incorporated into gameplay. Of course, now today it actually is in a box. It's no longer in the neoprene salmon fish that everyone so classically remembers. You got the
Hmm.
bananagrams, and then there's a couple educational ones that I've
Hmm.
seen. Again, just in the actual box that's in a cool shape. I get some kickback from people that are like seriously into board games, and they say this doesn't fit on my shelf, and I need boxes, and I need cardboard, and I need everything nice and neat. But to be honest, this isn't really a game that's designed for them. I hope they have fun with it as well, and it's
Yeah,
approachable and it's family friendly. The
I
the
see.
goal is to really attract, the 8 and up crowd. Although, I mean, like, I was at a convention 2 weeks ago, and there was a table of 45-year-old and ups. Like, that was it. It was just us. We had scheduled an event, and to be honest, we had a blast. So, I would consider
Yeah.
it a very family-friendly game.
Yeah, it's for people of all ages. And I think you mentioned that for the name of your company, Maca Game, that's also a funny story behind it. Will you like share
Yeah,
that?
so there was a client at work whose name, first 2 letters of the first and first 2 letters of the last, smashed them together, and that's the name of his company. And I thought, that's a fun little thing. I wonder if I could do that with my name. So my name is Matthew, so M-A, and then my
Hmm.
last name is Kambic, K-A. So what would be Maca? And I thought that's the way I'll pronounce it, Maca. But there's no wrong spelling or pronunciation. The
Hmm.
funny story is my wife disagrees with me on the pronunciation of my own company name. She's like, it's Maca, because she's a big teacher, she's into phonetics, and it's
Oh.
Matthew Kambic, so it's Maca. And I'm like, "No, it's Maca." And so we still don't agree to this day. But then I was in the
See.
thinking about it one day, and I'm like, "You know what? There's another way to pronounce it." I mean, there's MaKa games. Like, I
Mhm.
guess I kinda make a games, but the 4th
Yeah.
pronunciation is Maca, like maybe a bird or something. Maybe in my near
Okay.
future, there's some kind of a parrot game, we'll see.
I see. That might go well with the name of the company that you came up with as well. Thank you so much for sharing that story. And does your kids and your family influence some of the creation in the game that you're developing?
Oh, sure. So they're a great core playtest group. So I can give them designs, and they're a very articulate bunch. I mean, well, they've been playing games with dad since they were very little, same as me. But also it's fun to see how the game can bring out the natural interactions of them, and that's also part of the fun of seeing other groups as well, like the 45 and up group, where there's already dynamics there. They already know each other. The one person is always the person that wins, and the other person is the person that always is the attacker or the cutthroat person, and then the game just really brings out that kind of mechanic in the
I
people.
see.
So that's what I think some of the best games are, the games that just facilitate the natural interaction that people have together. And it's just a new, interesting way of leveraging that. So with my family, like I said, they're a great first test group, and they give me a lot of good feedback. And then where I get my really refining design, I've got a couple online groups that we meet
Mm.
regularly, and there are a bunch of game designers, so we really pick each other's games apart to really see, like, we don't want scenarios where there's a clear one way always win strategy, and we don't want other
Mm.
things where things really feel bad. And that's where it really takes a designer to articulate sometimes those feelings, because when you play with an average group, they're like, oh, that was fun, that was good, but that doesn't really help. That's not meaningful feedback. What's meaningful feedback is,
Mm.
I felt really fun here. I made this decision and made me feel smart. and then I did this decision, and then I felt like I was behind. Like sometimes you really have to articulate that.
I see. I see. And how old are all your kids?
So they're 11 and under. Top
11
two
under.
are
Okay.
twins, and then the youngest is around 6.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's a good range for playtesting.
Yeah.
For sure. And can you also talk about the second game that you're currently working on as well?
Yeah, so you're always in the many pots on the stove, right? There's always things in the iron and things you're working on and multiple projects. So I thought my next project was going to be one of doggies defending the front yard. But then one
Okay.
day I got an idea and I'm like, I bet I could make a game about buttons. It sounds silly, but it's about pushing of a button and not wanting to push the button. So
Okay.
I started working on mechanics, and the mechanics started to really fall into place. And this is a unique thing for me because usually my designs take many years to really refine and polish. This one just like fell into my lap, and I was like, wow, this is a fun one. And
Mm.
the button was just kind of dry. Like, who wants a game? Like, there were things that blow you up, so there were bombs, and there were things that were protecting you, and there were shields. But
Okay.
there are a dime a dozen out there. So then I thought, what can I really do to make this more engaging and more meaningful? And I looked at a lot of themes like ants and the seasons and weather and a whole lot of things. And what I ended up on was octopuses. So that became Ink Tensions. Ink Tensions is the game of underwater deception and bluffing. As an octopus, I have to go around getting food, but then my ink tensions are in question by the other players. And you have to have an intuition. What is the player doing? What are they after? The game, the mask of the game is everything is played face down. But you'd be surprised, even if you play your card face down, people can start to figure out your strategy pretty quick, especially if you have a card that says the more you get, the more valuable. There's a motive. Obviously, you're going to get some more at some point. And then the question is, are you the kind of player that would go for some right away? Or would you think that I would think that? So you've waited. Or would you think that I would, and you can go layers.
You can also call other player out.
In the way that you play and maneuver the cards. So, for example,
Oh.
I'll give you quick examples. You want a second sea slug. Sea slugs are valuable. They're a diet of the octopus. So it's in your best interest to get more, but the other players know this. So the first card you play is an octopus to go hunting for it. So then they think, okay, you've clearly made your motives and apparent. They can play a sharks next to it, and that's their reaction. And then when we resolve the arm pile, we would see that the sharks are touching the octopus, and then the adjacency is what matters. So they eat my card, I get nothing. But maybe I thought that you would think I would go for that on the first play. So I might lead with my sharks so that I'm hoping you misread my intentions and that you play a shark next to my shark, and sharks don't mind each other. They don't eat each other.
Yeah.
But then later I might be able to punch, as octopuses do, the fish. I might be able to punch my card, moving it and repositioning it to someplace else. So it's like a Sheriff of Nottingham or Skull, some of those classic bluffing games where there are some motives. You know that you need to get certain things accomplished, and you try to be subtle and crafty in the way that you play it, the order, and then the real strategy comes into some special octopus abilities like camouflage and jet propulsion. So it was really fun once I pivoted to the octopus theme to really try and make that come through in the mechanics. So the core was already there for the octopus, and they're smart, intelligent creatures, and they are masters of camouflage. But then there are these maneuvering things that they can do. They can open up jars, that little safety-proof kid jars. They can get out of their cage, squirt a camera so that you can't see what they're doing. Like how do they know how to do all this? So that some really intelligent creatures, the most intelligent non-invertebrates in the oceans, that's where the strategy and the when you do things really comes into play. So, but my wife, this is the way she plays. She says, that's a cute little card over there. Bam, she goes for it. So that's the extent of her strategy. And there's nothing against her, and sometimes she does very well. But me, on the other hand, I'll be like, do you want me to think you want that? Or did you think that I would think that you would want that? So therefore, you did the opposite. So sometimes there's the mind games there.
So is it more like a point base? How do you win at the end of the game?
Yeah, so point sale, it's like collecting like a Sushi Go. There are piles of points. That's the motivation. And when I start collecting sea slugs, the players know more sea slugs equals better stop him now. But then I may have anticipated that, and now I've pivoted and I've gone for the krill, or I've gone for the nudibranchs, the little sea slugs and stuff. So that's it. And then at the end of several rounds, we see what we've accumulated, and it's not the most cards that are food tiles that is important. It's the best diet. It's the best assortment of them. So if you just get all of one, you're probably not going to get as many points as if you get a well-balanced diet, same as any octopus.
I see. Throughout your kind of game creation process and, running the business, is your decision-making process when you decide to go self-publishing the game versus like try to license it to other bigger publishers?
Yeah, so for me, from the beginning, I would have really liked for someone to have just signed the game, they take it
Yeah.
over, I just receive the check in the mail or whatever happens next. But nothing like that happened. I did get close with a couple where I sent the game and they took it to their focus group, some big names in the industry, but it just never materialized. And the way I look at it, and I appreciate it now that I've been on the designer side and publisher side as well, it's kind of like getting married. There's only one right fit. And there's a lot of close seconds, and you don't want to get stuck with someone that you're not meant to be with. It's kind of the same thing.
Okay.
A publisher has certain goals. They have a certain audience. They have a very clear mind, and therefore, when they work with a new designer, they got to make sure that the game fits all of that. In not getting someone to sign the game, I thought, you know what, for me, this game is too much fun not to exist, so I had to self-publish it, which means I knew that it was going to take lots of work. So I basically prepped for a year, where I did lots of research, talked to friends who were very generous with their time to tell me a lot of tips and tricks about what worked and what didn't work.
Yeah.
So then when I brought it to market, I was very confident that I can't anticipate everything, but I can at least anticipate the easy stuff and the stuff that could be easily foreseen. So as an example, that Kickstarter you mentioned, it was over 500 people, 550. So I had to self-publish. And I did the preparation ahead of time, and I fulfilled on time, which isn't always the common thing on Kickstarter, but it was a goal of mine that, you know what, I think I can, because I talked to my manufacturer and they're like, should only take this long. And I'm like, well, I'll take you at face value. And then I added a month. That's the secret, right? And then I talked to the shipping people and they're like, oh, it should only take this long. And then I added a month. And then I put that on the Kickstarter, and sure enough, I was able to fulfill on time. So I built in some extra delay just in case there were things that were out of my control. And then the second Kickstarter, the Ink Tensions, that one actually just ended. It's in late pledge right now. That one did even better than the first, and the amount doubled the last one. So I was real pleased with that.
Nice. Okay. What has been your biggest challenge during this process of self-publishing the games?
Shipping and logistics. That's just, for some, like tariffs, duties, I've had to learn that those are different. DDP, being able to prepay so that someone isn't in this awkward situation with their postman in Europe, where the postman's like, here's your box, but I can't give it to you until you give me more money. And they have to swipe their card right there with the mailman, and weird things like that. Taxes, a lot of that is just like, you could spend a lot of time and research just on that. So I partnered with a company in China that shipped direct from China that really helped to eliminate some of these bottlenecks of coming to the US first and then delivering to a lot of people. And then also, now we're in a post-tariff world, and so now it's, again, all different, all new stuff to learn, all new problems to solve. So I'm in the middle of just starting to do the fulfillment now. So it's at the very bottom of my list of things I enjoy. If you were to organize things I enjoy, in fact, it would be beneath the bottom thing. But you have to do it because people have to get the game, and you have to do it in a cheap, reasonable, efficient way.
I see. But for your second starter, the product is still shipping out from your manufacturer in China, right?
Well, since it just finished, like literally 2 days ago, so it still has to be made and manufactured. And the files are just close to being done. I'm working with the artist. Chris is amazing. And we're going to get those files finished and prepped and sent to China. Then it takes about a month and a half for them to do their thing. And then comes the logistics side, where the manufacturer is only responsible EWX to the back door of their warehouse. And then I have to get a truck to come or something to pick it up. And then it has to bring it to a warehouse. And then is there export discounts in China because it's exportable goods or domestic goods? And that's where a lot of the extra logistics stuff comes in play.
I see. Do you currently have a warehouse that you're currently using to store all your product?
I have a warehouse in Texas, a company that I partner with. They were very inexpensive rates. And then I have another warehouse in Georgia. They're a great partner as well. They also have distribution. So those are my two partners right now. but I'm exploring things and taking it one day at a time. And it's not always a one size fits all, right? What works for one campaign. Now I have maybe a lighter game or a heavier game or a smaller box. In this case, this is very easy to ship, and if it gets kicked around, nothing really happens because it's got
Yeah.
built-in padding.
Yeah.
Whereas this game, now people are going to want the cardboard to arrive in a very non-dinged up manner, so the shipping on that one might actually be a slightly more expensive, even though it's about the same size.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. I see. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And you can also consider using Amazon as a warehouse solution as well. That's another
Yeah.
option.
Mhm.
And I know, like, just like me, when I first started back in 2016, to juggle a full-time job on top of the business you're doing on the side. How do you handle the kind of the balance between everything and also having 4 kids at home?
It's always a struggle, right? You always want to spend more time with your kids, and then there's always those times when it's like, I need to answer an email from China, and they're roughly 12 hours ahead of me, which
Mhm.
means, if I stay up till 2 in the morning, I can actually just talk to them live and not have to do this back and forth email exchange. And I save days of time sometime because we can just be back and forth and bust out some questions. Whereas I send one, I wait for an answer. So it's a difficult struggle, but my kids and my wife have been very patient and understanding. And,
I see.
sometimes there's these phases in life that get real busy. And now here we are with summer break and able to spend some more time with them because they're home. So what advice would I give? You never regret the time you spend with your kids. You may regret the time you don't spend with them. So that's always a guiding principle. And sometimes there's clever ways to involve them so you can actually kill two birds with one stone,
Mhm.
as the expression goes. So sometimes I'll be making the keychains and the kids will be helping me put the little hooks and stuff on them, and they enjoy that as well. So we've
I
we
see.
found we found what works for us.
I see. I see. I see. And talking about communicating with manufacturing in China, besides email, are you also using WeChat for communication with your manufacturer?
One of my main manufacturer sales contact, he likes our Facebook Messenger. So we get lots of stuff done through Facebook Messenger, and that's one of the things I most appreciate about him. Some of the other ones, there's WhatsApp and there's WeChat and a whole bunch of those other ones, but I find I get pulled in so many directions. I got to check Discord, I got to check Facebook Messenger, I got to check email. Like there's so many of these communication paths, sometimes
Yeah.
LinkedIn. Like I don't need more communication.
Oh, well, the reason why I mention it because almost everyone in China use WeChat. That's kind of like a standard communication platform. Usually, I call my manufacturers at the evenings, which is like morning China time.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
that tend to work out pretty well usually.
I'll
So
have to suggest it, and none of them have said, "Hey, Matt, can you communicate with that platform?" It's I certainly take your word for it that it's a popular one, but
mhm.
since my rep also uses Messenger, and since I'm a very plugged in and I enjoy that one, and I got a lot of friends there, it kind of focuses everything into one stream for me, so that
Oh,
it,
okay,
it does
sure.
help. It does help
Yeah.
keep things efficient.
I see. Yeah, whichever work for sure. So, what is your vision for Maca Games and your company going forward?
It's a great question. I don't really have one, if I'm quite honest. I've been taking this one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time.
Okay.
The goal was I just want a game that's published. Will
Hmm.
someone please sign it? And then that goal morphed into, well, I guess I have to do it. I have to publish my own game. And
Yeah.
then that morphed into, I guess I have to do a Kickstarter. And then that morphed into, hey, I got this cool
Yeah.
idea. I've
Yeah.
technically done the process before. I guess I could do a second Kickstarter. And then I did a second Kickstarter. It's really fun to kind of play the role of publisher and think, oh, I could sign up that game over there looks pretty interesting. I wonder if I want that game. I wonder if it could be one of my games, right? That is a fun thought. But then the other side is quickly like, run, that's a lot of work. Is this
Yeah.
what you want, all your spare time spent in? And that's one of the main negatives right now. The
Mm.
convention circuit is such an important part of making contacts and friendships and business contacts, and
Yeah.
also a way of selling games and being in touch with the customer,
Yeah.
and it eats up all my vacation days, and then I look at the end of the year and I'm like, I went on
Mm.
one vacation with my family, and then I went on 4 other mini vacations, which was just me in a
Vacation.
hotel, and then
Yeah.
in a trade show,
Yeah.
standing
Yeah.
for 11 hours, interacting with people. Not exactly a vacation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun, it's
Yeah.
got its moments, but so I gotta think next year what I'm gonna do, yeah.
Well, I can totally relate to that because when I started, it took me from 2016 to 2022 to finally quit my day job and become, doing this full time. Took me 6 years.
Mm,
It is quite a long journey because it's not easy to grow a physical product company. So as you know, there's so many different things involved, the design, manufacturing, supply, and that's also a big problem, which is cash flow, because the more you grow, the more cash you need to invest into more inventory to really grow the business and still pay for yourself at the same time. There's a lot of different moving factors, but I think the most important thing is don't give up and keep on growing the business. It's definitely very important. As well, winding down in today's interview, if you had to share just one piece of advice with someone that's getting started within the toys and game industry, what would that be?
One piece of advice. So let's say you're just starting. It's going to seem like an insurmountable task. I'd say find a buddy or someone in the industry, and it's a very generous industry, as you'll find the board game that a lot of people are willing to donate their time and advice for free, which is amazing. But find someone to give you that initial mentorship. There's actual programs for this where you can join, and they'll give you an actual dedicated person, and the two of you can talk once a week. But also finding a regular playtest group is great, because a lot of the tips that I've got are just from us chatting and waiting for everyone to connect to start our game together, to do the testing of whatever we're set out to do. And we'll just start talking about shipping or advertisements or something. And it's like, whoa, this is really good. And I didn't even think to ask these questions. So I'd say if you can find that playtest group where you can join, you donate your time by testing their games and giving them meaningful feedback, and then they test yours. Then, especially if some of you are ahead in the process or not quite started, everyone's got their perspective and their opinions, and everyone is able to contribute, and some more than others, but that's just how it goes.
I see. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. And for our listener that's interested to learn more about you and your company, where is the best place for people to find you online?
Sure. So Maca.games is the website. MAKA.games. There's no WW. So Maca.games is the website. And there you would see the 3 games licensed to Krill. That's this guy. We've got Ink Tensions. That's the one just getting ready to go to print and then to ship. And then a 3rd game I picked up from a couple dear friends, Chris and Levi, made this really cute game about getting the cat into the cat carrier. I suppose many of your listeners could relate, right? You got to go to the vet and you got to get that cat into that carrier. And as a team, you're against the cat, so it's cooperative. And you have to play your cards very strategically. And on the hard mode, feral mode, it's really difficult. The chance of winning if you play your cards right is like 40%. But you could lower the difficulty, of course, down to kitten mode, and then you're playing with a 6-year-old, and yay, you won. Yeah. But if you play on the more difficult settings, you really got to play your cards right, and that's a real fun one, and that one's also on the website as well.
I see. Okay, I will make sure we put that in the show note as well. Thank you again so much for your time today and sharing your story and your journey within the toys and game industry.
Awesome. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for bearing with my technical difficulties.
No problem. Yeah. And thank you for our listener for tuning in to this episode of Toy Business Box Podcast. We hope you have enjoyed the conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource tips and the latest update within the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag ToyBusinessUnbox. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestion for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, keep bringing joys to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unbox podcast. We'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.